just looking at the city, we had redlining, we had forced segregation, and if you look at a map where a lot of permanent facilities are, for example, that pollute a lot, they're right along these environmental justice communities where it's predominantly people of color, low income, people who have English as a second language. So it's people who may not have had the authority to say, no, we don't want this here. You know, we don't want this facility in our area. Or they're forced to live by these facilities from segregation. So there can be two different sides to it. And that pollution just builds up over time. Then you have more stress, and then there's school systems kind of get picked apart by larger structures. So then it just kind of goes in a cycle. So it's like, it's a little, you know, like that's like, there's different ways that it could affect people, you know, and it could be indirect or it could be very direct. So, I mean,
they're affected disproportionately.
Look right behind you.
It's a highway.
It's a highway.
This isn't the cleanest air we could be breathing. Is it still my hometown? Do I love it to death? Yes. But I have to acknowledge that being around gas-guzzling machines for the entirety of my formative years would probably give me asthma.
Yeah.
You know, my parents smoking my entire life. If I'm a victim of secondhand smoke for the entirety of my life, I'm probably going to have breathing difficulties when I get older.
Yeah.
And that's just a reality of being in the urban environments.
Yep.
And when you say how do they affect different communities of color, it's in every way you can say, really.
Yeah.
Down to health effects, down to mental health, down to community coming together. I mean, it's hard.
Welcome back to the Heartwood Podcast. My name is Bennett Olupo, one of the co-hosts, alongside Dr. Easley and Isaac Carew. In this special episode, I'm talking to Julius Mims as he gets ready to launch his podcast, What's the Green Idea?, where he's going to explore environmental justice and what it was like growing up in Minneapolis. I hope you learned as much as I did during this conversation. It was truly my pleasure being able to sit down and talk to Julius. Enjoy.
Instead of this little camera anxiety, this is my positionality statement when it comes to what I've always wanted to do. So thank you for the opportunity, the Lord up above. Community activism is something that's always been important to me and my family. I do everything for them. And this is an opportunity for me to speak on issues that we've struggled with for the entirety of our lives. And I know that I'm not alone in the experiences that I go through. Is there anything you would like to say in terms of your positionality on starting this?
I think something similar. I know we're in a special place for Julius right now, but and I'm a visitor in the city, but we share the same state, and it's something that I really care about. You know, being in touch with everybody in throughout the state, especially the Black community, and and just people around. So I'm happy to be here with Julius and be along the ride with them.
Thank you. So, for anyone who's tuning in for the first time, this is What's the Green Idea, a podcast where two Black men such as ourselves talk about environmental justice issues that are happening here in the Twin Cities. So, I can pull out our first prompt.
Before we go to that, why do you pick this spot?
Why did I pick this spot? Well, if you look behind me, you'll see Minneapolis, city that I've grown up in, know nothing but. It feels like I'm home, sitting in front of this camera, knowing that everything I've ever known is right behind me and also right in front of me. Fun fact, I'm actually right in front of my cousin's house that I've grown up at, running around there since my earliest memories. And I think picking a spot that feels so homely allows me to feel grounded, even while I'm talking about topics that I haven't always understood very well. And so it's almost like I'm reclaiming what I'm doing here. There have been times where I didn't understand what was happening in my city or what was happening to my family because of what was happening in my city. And I think being able to really publish it, really broadcast, I think that's the word I'm looking for. Broadcast that this is who I am, 100%, and this is what I talk about. This is what I'm really thinking. This is who I really am. And I know that there are plenty of people who are just like me who wish they had the opportunity to get the education that I have and get the opportunity to even speak in front of this camera. It's a blessing. So I just want to be able to express my gratitude and give back to the community. And this is how I do it, by showing them that, hey, I'm from the same block that all of you are. I'm not any different than any of you.
You're here.
I'm here, 100%.
So what you got in store for me?
What I have in store for us are a couple common topics. So this is for environmental justice. This will be the first topic that we'll be going into more specifically. For our first prompt is, what exactly is environmental justice and how is it different from environmentalism? Is there anything you want to say on that?
I think for me, environmental justice is a whole picture. Environmentalism is missing parts and pieces that will make it complete, and environmental justice goes to that. It acknowledges the history, the past, the present, and the future when you talk about environmental justice. And then environmentalism, to me, feels like you take a snapshot and then maybe just a part of a system or a part in a piece. And a lot of times people are separate from nature and not really connected all the way. But when you talk about environmental justice, like, everything is kind of given that level playing field and people are taken into account. So, yeah. What about you?
I couldn't agree more. I feel that environmental justice is about intersectionality. I really like that as a concept because there are so many different aspects that play into how we relate to our environment, the privileges we have in order to relate to it. Personal example is I had dirtier playgrounds growing up, and that's something that not everyone had to experience being from a low-income neighborhood. Some low-income neighborhoods didn't have cleaner playgrounds. And so whenever someone labels it as a certain way, I go, but that's not true for everyone. There is a sense of diversity that environmental justice talks about that I really find enlightening, or it gives me peace to know that there's stories from other people who know about what I'm going through. And I think that without environmental justice, if I hadn't studied that or found my passion within environmental justice, I wouldn't be able to understand who I am in my entirety. And I feel like that also plays in with my biracial identity, because I've had to consider my intersectionality in every aspect of my life, where I'm not just one thing, or it's not just one reason, but there's multiple. And so that concept of intersectionality is really what reins it in for me personally.
Yeah. We're in the system, and it connects you to the earth.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we're literally grounded right now. Yeah. I mean, I think that sense of connectedness also, bringing in community, because within the environmental justice movement or ideas or however you want to label it, everyone's together, right? People who don't grow up the same, are from similar places, different ages. It doesn't really matter because the concepts still reign in for everyone. Is there anything you wanted to mention about that? You look like you had something to say.
I just really like how you're saying that you see the connectedness between people, because it highlights patterns within the larger, like, structure, whatever type of structure that we're in. You see patterns from place to place, regardless of the city or country that you're in. You know, like, I see some of the same things going on in Nigeria as what I see in Minneapolis. And then in certain parts of Spain, when I went there, I saw the same things. So it really highlights, you know, this shared fight for better, shared fight for our future, shared fight to, you know, make sure that the extra human beings are doing better too, as well as, you know, our brothers and sisters that are around us. Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah. That's exactly how I feel about it. Sometimes you'll get to a certain point with how far you're going in the environmental justice movement. Random anecdote. And it almost feels like you're going too far with it. But that's what I love about it, is that there is no too far. Yeah. That we can always go deeper. We can always talk more. And it gives you a sense of worldview that is anchoring, right? Where I can talk to anybody and anything because I understand where you're coming from. I think that's something that I've been raised to believe personally, that no matter who's talking, you should be listening. You should be hearing them out because their experience might just be different from you. That's a value that I take from my grandmother. The golden rule, just listen. Because someone will always tell you exactly how they feel. And I think, especially from my grandmother, that sense of justice will continue to resonate or radiate in different aspects of my life that I know that are a blessing. Like I know that not everyone has that figure in their life, that mentor figure, where when things got hard for me or when I got confused about something, there was someone there to answer the call. And so it almost instills a sense of duty for me because it makes me feel so privileged. Yeah, there are things that have happened to me and I have experiences that may have been hard, but that doesn't mean that I don't live a good life. And I think it's a sense of gratitude that I'm looking to express, a sense of gratitude that I live by. I'm grateful for every moment that passes.
That's great. You're
embodying it 100%. And so with this podcast, I like talking directly to the camera too. I want to just show it. I want to be completely authentically me because I know there are people who are just like us who think that they can't do it. And it just breaks my heart.
And you hear about it. I think that's something too. A lot of people will express things about environmental justice or wanting to see a better environment around them. And other people say, oh, that's not it. Like, that's not environmental justice. Yeah. But you hear it in music, you hear it in art, you hear like little statements that people say. And you hear about the environmental injustices too. Like my family, we've always been skeptical of drinking from tap water. And then more and more studies are coming out with PFAS in water, contaminants in water, and I think this is something that like the Black community has seen for a long time. So like we know to have a healthy level of skepticism for things while we're trying to get things to be better.
It serves you.
Yeah.
That level of skepticism serves you.
Yeah.
It does. And I think everyone has a sense of skepticism. We can either choose to acknowledge that or ignore that. I think the underlying factor that I'm looking to talk about is ignorance. What do you think the ignorance or remaining oblivious to the injustice, how does that affect us specifically? And then how does that affect people we've seen? How do you believe that perception has changed for you?
I think it shifts the composition of coalitions. Because like the more that people hear about things, the more that people know what's really happening, the more invested they become. But then I think my brother and I always debate, like, is it the overarching power structure that is making it so people can't be on the same page, or is it a person's agency? Like, are you putting down the phone a little bit to talk to somebody or to read a book? Rather than being on like social media and just like doom scrolling? Or is it, the overarching control over social media that's putting people in funnels and keeping people ignorant? You know what I mean? Or like doing these silos. So I think it's trying to understand whether or not the ignorance is forced by somebody else or is kind of like self-perpetuated. So looking just like a little bit beyond it, because people want to learn. There's very few people that I've met who are like, ignorance is bliss, I don't want to know. They might be a little bit older and wiser and understand that they just want their peace of mind, but very few people have that mentality. So I think it's about like teaching one another, having the conversation, so you can form that coalition. I think I danced around that question, but I hope I got to some parts and pieces of it. Yeah. But what do you think about it?
I think similarly, where on the one hand, you have access to all the resources you can need. I mean, in this modern generation, technology has just advanced so rapidly that I think people are oversaturated with information. So I think it's a beautiful mix of both, where people can instantly get the answer to any question they have, but then the next step is what actually people miss.
And the question is, do you trust the information?
Do you trust the information?
And do you know how to see whether or not it's real or not?
Because, and it's a huge deal to do with AI, most notably, because you're able to so rapidly synthesize information that you used to have to spend weeks to figure out. So I think the love of progressing forward has kind of dwindled. And if you don't have, I'm struggling to find the words to even express the idea, but if you don't have the desire for it truly, it won't manifest itself. But now there are so many ways of being convinced that you do want it, the line gets blurred. Because you can know exactly what's going on. I mean, I can pick up my phone in 3 seconds in a lesson on quantum mechanics, and I can have it broken down to a 7-year-old. But once I know that, I'm satisfied. You're just instantly satisfied. And I think instant gratification. If the agency isn't there, why are you doing it? It's a lack of intent.
Yeah. And also, so I've been doing a little bit of research into traditional ecological knowledge. Are you familiar with that or no?
Not too. I mean, I can grasp it based on what you're talking about, but not too familiar.
So a big part of that is cultures build up all this knowledge about, where they're based in over time. Like if people are living in like a certain region for thousands of years, they build up knowledge about it. They know when the trees are going to bloom, or they know when the plants are going to bloom. They know when the leaves are going to come out and the birds are going to start migrating. And then they start embedding this information and storytelling into different forms of art to pass it down through the generations. And it accumulates over time. One thing that I worry about is what's lost in the art of storytelling with the instant gratification. Because a lot of these stories are told by elders, by elders to younger folk. And when you're younger, you may not realize how much information it has about the world around you. But then when you go older, it's guiding you, to follow the North Star, follow the drinking gourd, to plant certain things together, and that's in the story. Or to watch out for this type of animal because they act a certain way. And make sure to hold on to that as well as using the new information from technology. So it's a weird kind of space that we're living in, because a lot of these stories are being erased by the technology, even though the technology has the power to amplify it.
Because they're not using the technology to amplify their story, they're using it to skip to the end. You're ignoring all of the context and all the beauty of the subjectivity of the story, because you're not looking to learn it, you're looking to know the answer.
Exactly.
And once you have the answer, the rest of the context doesn't matter. It's like why would you use a formula if the calculator will give it to you in an instant?
And the stories will teach you how to live it. Like what you're saying, like you know it, but maybe you don't incorporate it into your life. Or maybe you use it once and then it's gone. But it should be a day-by-day thing. So, not
the
just a
morality's
calculator.
Completely lost,
So
I personally, as a Hispanic, I love a good story. So when I'm in conversation, I'm just having the time of my life. Like right now, just talking.
Enjoying it.
Even though it's in English, I'm having a hard time translating everything. It's still fun because that's what it's about.
¿Hablas español?
I hear a lot more of it. I speak less than I'd like to.
Nah, I got you.
No
it's
Sabo
hard.
kid. Unfortunately, I will raise my hand. No Sabo kid. But I learned it in school. I've been learning it in school. So it's that weird balance of, I know it, but when someone starts talking it, I'm like, I'm speaking English right now, so I don't know how to.
But
I'm not as good as a switch.
You'll hear other ways of knowing for environmentalism within the other languages. Same thing. I'm learning Yoruba, and it's the same way. Like how people relate to the land, the proverbs that are in there, the storytelling that you're talking about, like keeping that way of speaking alive, keeping that understanding alive is a form of environmental justice. Because if you look back in the history, some of the biggest things that they did to indigenous folks here was removing them from the land, putting people in re-education camps, and taking away that knowledge about the land from them. And we saw it with the Black community in the South, take away their drums, take away their ability to relate to the land, and then keep people enslaved. you know? So it's like being in tune with the earth, knowing what we're speaking, how we're speaking, and having different ways of communicating is important for this environmental movement. You know, having these podcasts, having videos, having everything, so.
It's about mediums.
Yeah.
I think is what you're trying to get at.
Yep.
I love incorporating information through as many mediums as I can find it because I know it's a matter of perspective.
Yep.
I'll throw out this word, eclecticism. That's word of the day.
Yeah.
It's about taking in as many perspectives as you possibly can because they're all just as valuable to you, right? I know that there are a million different ways to say the same thing, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think that all everyone is trying to do is express their relation to something.
Yeah.
And so I think something I've realized about passion itself is that it has to be so true to your being. And you have to be true to your roots. No matter how much time is passing, no matter how much things are advancing, you have to have a sense of traditionalism because you have to have some kind of ground, right? And the stories I've learned about environmental justice were treat Mother Earth because she takes care of you. I mean, I'm the kind of guy who I don't even like it when my friends throw a cup on the ground. I'm like, dude, come on. You can do better than that. Because you wouldn't want someone to do it in your house. It's disappointing. You see it, you're like, or when someone like spits their gum onto the curb, I'm like, come on. Because that's going to find you back eventually. That's going to be in the water you complain about being dirty. Right? You're constantly, everything's in a cycle. And if you don't break that cycle, how can you expect any better for yourself? I noticed that when people who spit all over the place or throw litter or don't take care of their spaces often aren't happy people themselves. Because if you're not willing to take care of those around you, how are you taking care of yourself? You know, do you treat yourself that grossly? It kind of it gives me pause, is what I should say. It gives me pause because, I don't know, I'm getting off topic. I can see that talking about gross things such as littering or spitting,
It ain't it.
it ain't it. It's not cute is what I'm trying to express. We're grown adults now. I think it's more important that people conduct themselves with class. And I don't see how you can do that besides taking care of everything.
Without a doubt. It's your culture.
It's your culture. It's who you are. And we're all human. We're all earthlings. As far as I'm aware. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think so too.
I'm pretty sure we were all born on this Mother Earth.
Who knows what's lurking around the corner?
There might be lizard people. We're not sure.
I don't know.
But even the lizard people might be from Earth. And so I guess I have a pivoting question. What do you think environmental justice has given you in terms of new perspective through your education? Because I'm majoring in environmental sciences, policy, and management. And so I know that gives me a very unique perspective. And I've solicited it as thus far. I just told everyone I don't like littering. What do you think you personally?
I think it helped break down silos for me. So I studied biology and Spanish undergrad, and then got an education degree, a master's of education at Loyola, and then went back to school at Yale School of Environment. And all those places, when I was in the larger classes, and it was a lot more mainstream, especially biology. It was like so siloed. You know, everything was in its place that it was supposed to be in, categorized, whatever. And you can't look at how things are related. But then when you start bringing in environmental justice, you got to look at the broader picture, and it adds a lot more depth. And I think it makes whatever that you're studying, like if you want to use it in the real world or if you want to incorporate it into your life, it adds a lot more, maybe utility isn't the best word, but like depth. Like it applies to a lot more things. You know, like, okay, I'm going to plant this tree here and it's going to have this benefit in this region because it's next to another type of plant. You know, and then maybe they have a relationship with each other that can help each other grow. But a lot of times if you look at biology, it goes through a reductionist lens where you're looking at the parts and pieces and how they operate in isolation. Nothing ever operates in isolation. They're always operating with each other. So like that's how it's added to my research and and how I move throughout throughout the world. So, how about you?
It's well, to begin with, it gave me a very high sense of self.
Yep.
Because it's reaffirmed that my struggles are real, that they're well studied. It's a well acknowledged phenomenon that, the things I've experienced would lead me to where I am today. And so a lot of that doubt I have about why am I like this? Why am I doing that? I know why, because that's all I've ever known. I notice, for example, when I see people doing the littering, it's never about the littering. Okay, the actual action is more or less trivial, but it's the principle that I'm seeing. And I think that sense of seeing things early, extrasensory. I feel everything. I guess that's what I'm trying to say is. And education gives me a way to process that without having to always understand immediately what's happening around me.
Yeah.
And as I've gotten older, my education has continued to reaffirm my beliefs. I know that not everyone holds themselves as high of a standard for as long as I have. And that makes me see my education differently. Like, I'm so grateful for it. I take it very seriously. Everything I learned in school, I'm like, that has to be my passion. Yeah. Because this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Yeah. Where I'm going to one of the most prestigious universities in the Midwest on scholarship. And did I work for that opportunity? Absolutely. Did I earn it? Absolutely. So that's why I'm proud of everything I do. I try not to shed a tear when I talk, because I'm like, this is my dream. Yeah. I've always wanted to do this, but I know that not everyone can. And then I say that out loud, and I'm like, yes, they can. Yeah. It's the matter of belief. Yeah. And so what I've learned through education is that because of what I'm afraid of, what I'm apprehensive about, they're not real. My fears are things that will never happen, right? And so I want to be able to erase that belief for anyone who doubts themselves too, whether that comes to environmental justice or just period. I think my education is an opportunity to amplify and create for others. And that's why we're doing this. Complete transparency. I have nothing to hide from you. Complete transparency. That's what my education has given me, is a sense of I'm real, I'm 100% here, you can be too. So for our second prompt, how does environmental injustice disproportionately affect communities of color in low-income neighborhoods? It's a loaded question.
The large question. I'm a little biased because I see it in different ways after doing community organizing, after working in the government for a little bit, and then just growing up Black and in an immigrant household. The question is, where do you start? Do you start with the transatlantic slave trade? Do you start when people's knowledge was starting to be erased before that? And all the other instances, I don't know if you know the term racial capitalism, but the beginning of the book, Black Marxism, with Sarah J. Robinson, it starts in, I think, Ireland is what it starts talking about. And that was the beginning parts of it. They cut down a bunch of trees in the area, forced people to produce wool, or they just amplified the wool trade, and they undercut the market in Ireland, And that's why, as hard, as odd as it sounds when people say it, they're like, oh, Irish people are the first slaves or whatever. There is some merit to it, no matter how different how outlandish it sounds. There's a kernel of truth to it. Yeah. They weren't treated as chattel. They weren't treated as, people weren't treated as objects there, and it changed when it went to when they're talking about sub-Saharan Black people. But that, people could say that that is one of the starts of modern environmental injustices. But then you could trace all the way to the indigenous people here and the expansion of the empire, But just looking at the city, we had redlining, we had forced segregation, and if you look at a map where a lot of permitted facilities are, for example, that pollute a lot, they're right along these environmental justice communities where it's predominantly people of color, low income, people who have English as a second language. So it's people who may not have had the authority to say, no, we don't want this here. We don't want this facility in our area. Or they're forced to live by these facilities from segregation. So there could be two different sides to it. And that pollution just builds up over time. Then you have more stress, and then there's school systems kind of get picked apart by larger structures. Yeah. So then it just kind of goes in a cycle. So it's like, it's a little, that's like, there's different ways that it could affect people, and it could be indirect or it could be very direct and just in your face, or it could be subtle. So there's a lot to it, and there's no
extremely
good way to
loaded.
start.
Yeah,
there's no good way to start.
It's quite a question. Yeah. I'll start off with an anecdote. I've grown up in two vastly different communities. I first lived in East St. Paul.
Yeah.
Grew up there, and then right around fourth grade, 2014, I moved to a suburb in Minneapolis. And I was able to so starkly notice a difference between the quality of life that everyone around me was living and how it affected me at different stages of my life.
Yeah.
So when I was young and living in a less nice house, let's be completely frank and honest, my house wasn't as nice, it wasn't as clean and well put together, we couldn't afford as nice of a living. But I noticed that I didn't need that. So when I moved and noticed the difference, I was like, okay, why were there certain things that were affecting me here, but they weren't affecting me there? Yeah. And when you say how do they affect different communities of color, it's in every way you can say, really. Yeah. Down to health effects, down to mental health, down to community coming together. I mean, it's harder for you to be motivated to go to your park when it's trashed.
Yeah.
It's harder for you to be motivated to go to work when you're coughing up a storm because they've got a HERC incinerator in your backyard. I know you know about that.
Yeah.
So when you bring it to real life, I feel like that's what people miss is let's actually look at what's happening to these people. Let's actually take a moment and take a breath and look around what's happening to these people. And it's not that they're affected disproportionately.
Look right behind you.
It's a highway.
It's a highway.
This is the cleanest air we could be breathing. Is it still my hometown? Do I love it to death? Yes. But I have to acknowledge that being around gas-guzzling machines for the entirety of my formative years would probably give me asthma.
Yeah.
My parents smoking my entire life. If I'm a victim of secondhand smoke for the entirety of my life, I'm probably going to have breathing difficulties when I get older.
Yeah.
And that's just a reality of being in the urban environments.
Yep.
And so when you look at people who are traditionally mistreated by the system, we'll always put it in quotation marks because there's always someone that likes to disagree. Yeah. Let's actually look at what's happening. I'll take myself for an example. Mother and father both smoked. Yeah. So that entire time I was learning how to live, not breathing correctly was something I had become accustomed to.
Yeah.
That's not something healthy adults grow into. You're not supposed to get used to not being able to breathe. But when you've never even had to think about that, you can't even reality check it.
Yeah.
You're it makes sense that people who have spent their entire life around exhaust fumes are going to have breathing difficulties in their adulthood.
Without a doubt. And highways are just different monsters too, because if I know people talk about Rondo a lot, but 35W, that was a historic black community in South Minneapolis that it went through, and then it kind of just fell apart, and then it got replaced with rather than people wanting to I heard stories about people tubing down Minnehaha Creek. It used to be a lot more wooded. People could access these hiking areas, and then now it's just exhaust, like you're saying. So it's you have a high that you're going to, and then it's that first gut punch, and then you just keep getting hit, on a day-to-day basis.
For these people, it's literally as soon as they step outside.
Yeah.
These apartments are not even 100 feet, maybe, from cars flying past them every day. You can't even open your window and get fresh air. And so the access to spaces where there is fresh available air is almost entirely reliant upon your socioeconomic status.
Yeah.
And when you've started from a lower point or behind in the race, you don't even learn that that's what you're supposed to be experiencing. You don't feel connected to nature because when you go outside, you don't see people like you out there. So it's in even a subconscious level, you don't think that you're meant for these spaces.
Yeah.
You don't think that you're built for them. Yeah. That's not for me. I got to be out here in the city.
Yeah.
You should be somewhere where you don't have to inhale exhaust fumes constantly. That is not a want, that's a human need.
And also, we need to get that out of the culture too, though. Saying like this space, like, oh, we don't do that. We don't do that.
We don't go over there.
Yeah, I understand where it came from because like there's a lot of fear and trauma, but we need to get that out of the culture. We need to take up these spaces and go in it and enjoy it and recreate and find peace. You know?
And I think part of our responsibility is to set that example.
Yeah.
Where we're just going out there and doing it. Like, hey, it's not impossible. They just told you it was.
Yeah.
Everything anyone has ever told me I shouldn't do was just because they didn't think I could.
Yeah.
And so when you really break it down, is there any reason we shouldn't be in those spaces?
Yeah.
Why are we even saying that?
Yeah.
Because that's what we were told.
Yeah.
But we've learned it differently.
Yeah.
And that's a privilege that we have to express on camera every time. I will say it every time because I'm so grateful for it.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt. Want to move on to our next prompt?
Yeah, let's do it.
Because that was a really loaded question, and to be honest, we don't even know how to address that without going into a 3-hour-long sermon.
So I guess the question for you is, how can young people get involved in the environmental justice activism today?
Saying something about it. That's where it really starts. My age group particularly, there was a divide between our childhood and then the algorithm world.
Yeah.
And I think my generation particularly, Gen Z, 20 to 22 right about now, we remember a world before all of the algorithms. You would obviously remember one, but my generation is the last one. We're the last ones before we spent our formative years on the iPads and phones. I remember growing up not having any of that. There was at a certain point, I got my first phone in 6th grade, I think. And so it was never how I learned to understand the world, but it was merely another way of expressing it. And so I think in the modern age, expressing it as thoroughly as you can on media is the way to do it. Saying something about it, saying, hey, this is real. I know you've seen a million reels about whatever nonsense is going on and whatever is popular media, but this is real. It's something we're dealing with every day. So let's just talk about it. I think that's the best way for young people to make a stand against what we're working against because we don't want to talk about it anymore because we don't have to. Yeah. Now when I get bored in conversation, you say something I don't like, I go, whatever, bro. Go on the phone. Yeah. How many times have you noticed that you'll be talking to someone, like having direct conversation, and then they'll just start talking to you while they're scrolling? Yeah. I can't give you my full attention that way. Yeah. And so the art of conversation is being lost. If we're being fully transparent about it, I notice that you notice it too. I don't even have to explain it. You're talking to people and they're not actually listening because they don't really care. Yeah. And not caring about things that are actually affecting you, you can't be happy that way. Yeah, there's no way. There's a struggle. We go through the struggle every day. It's hard enough being black men in America. Yeah. We know that. So how do we set an example for those behind us? Because I think every day I'm like, my younger sister doesn't have to face the things that I did in my childhood. Yeah. That's enough for me. Yeah. I'm happy. But now that I know that the gifts that I've been given, I can give back to people just by talking, just by being myself, as long as I'm in front of a camera, as long as I'm showing someone what they should be doing, as opposed to what they're doing that's making them upset.
I even challenge you to go beyond just a talking to and get people to go on a walk with you, go on a hike, share the space with you. And then hopefully that will build into things that, it's nice to not be on my phone too. Yeah. You know? And then they'll want to figure out ways to protect those areas and get back to it. That's my challenge to you.
I'll take you up on that.
That's my challenge.
I'll take you up on that.
Yeah. So.
I'll take you up on that. Because that is something I noticed I don't do all that often.
It's hard.
It's like when I go on my little walks or trips or hikes, I'm doing it solo because I'm just like, I just feel so peace.
There's a piece to it.
I just like it's quiet.
I do that too.
I almost feel selfish about it, but then that's not the point. The point is to share that time with other people. A good walk and talk with anyone, you really can't feel better. And so, although I appreciate the peace, I think that is an important sentiment to express, that I should be sharing that with other people instead of just saying, "Oh, everyone, come in." It's about balance. It's about, please join me on this walk.
Yeah.
You know, please join me on this experience. Like, let's just ditch our phones.
Yeah.
I don't want to text you. I want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Real life and conversation. I mean, just yesterday I went on a date and I was like, wow, this is such a refreshing change of pace.
Yeah.
Where we're just talking.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt, there was no doubt. There was no questioning. It was just, can I be right here? Being accepted for who I was in that moment, completely and wholly, I was like, I don't need anything else. So it was nice to share that time, I think. So I think operating on my own time, that individualism sense that I have from growing up the way that I did, where the hustle culture really gets at me. I'm like, I'm not on a walk. I'm only on a walk to make sure that my sanity is level. I'm like, why aren't I just enjoying my walk?
Yeah.
It's my morning walk. I'm hearing the birds chirp. It's spring. The only reason I'm not super fond of the season is my allergies.
Yeah.
I will say that is something that affects.
Feel right now?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time sniffling and breathing, but it's not stopping me from being out here. Because if there's any time, I would rather not be able to breathe from pollen and tree and exhaust fumes, because then I'll go back inside from the exhaust fumes and still be coughing.
Without a doubt.
But here, I'll be, okay, I just have a stuffy nose. I'd rather blow my nose than cough up a storm.
Yep.
So I'll take you up on that challenge to share that space.
Yeah, man. I think that's a good way to kind of to end the podcast, because it's like it's on a good note, you know, about enjoying things with people and like breaking out of the individual box, you know, which is hard. So, do you have like any last things you wanna express?
Thank you all for watching. Trying to work on the showmanship. I don't have anything that I need to get off my chest. I just love doing this. I love talking. Love having a space for Black men in order to be able to express their ideas around environmental justice.
It's nice.
Because you don't see it every day.
It's hard to find. Shout out to the city.
Shout out to the city, though. That's all we got. Thank you.